How do you create more balance in your life? It's one of those things, like, we like balance, and when we feel like something is off, or we feel too busy, or we're feeling like things are pulling us in all different kinds of directions, we generally don't like it. But what does it mean to actually have some balance? The physicist Albert Einstein says, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. And so if we're thinking about, okay, if balance is about you're moving, we're going to continue to move, what does that begin to look like? Well, Proverbs offers us some wisdom in this when it says, a righteous person giving it to the wicked is like a contaminated spring or polluted fountain. Eating too much honey isn't good, nor is it appropriate to seek honor. A person without self-control is like a breached city, one with no walls. Okay, so that's three things right there. Three things to keep us moving. And the first one is when it says a righteous person giving into the wicked is like a contaminated spring. All right, so this is, who are we allowing to influence us when we know, when we know that what they are doing is not right? How do we allow a person to change our perspective? How do they impact us when we know that what they are doing is not healthy, it's not helpful, it's not encouraging, and it's not easy for us to resist in the way that, you know what, to push back, to say, I don't want any part of that, sometimes feels harder than, you know what, whatever. And so how do we understand who is influencing us? How do we take stock and go, wait a minute, that's good, that's not so good? Because we want something that is life-giving instead of life-taking, instead of throwing us out of balance. The second thing there is eating too much honey. And this is, what are we consuming? What do we consume? Like, read? What do we consume with our time? What do we fill our time with? What are we taking in? What words are we absorbing? What are we watching? What are we listening to? What are we consuming? And even to the point where sometimes we can consume something that's good, that in small doses is good. But then if we take in too much, it throws us out of balance once again. And so to think about that, of what are we consuming on a regular basis? Is it too much of something, even if it's something that is on the better side of things? And then third, is keeping ourselves in check. That whole sentence that says, a person without self-control is like a breached city, one with no walls. And so to think about that, of self-control in the aspect of what we do, what we say, the things that we think, the way that we react, and our perspectives, to think about our self-control. And are we paying attention to that, of the things that we can control? This is not about the things we cannot control. Because when we recognize what we are filling in, right, what we consume, what we allow to influence us, and what we are allowing to control us when really we have control over ourselves, that those three things can really help us in keeping balance in our lives. The ancient Greek playwright Euripides says this: the best and safest thing is to keep a balance in your life. Acknowledge the great powers around us and in us. If you can do that and live that way, you are really a wise man. Pray with me. Creative God, as we navigate our days, feeling pulled in so many directions, as we feel the chaos that has us doubting whether finding a balance is even possible, help us. Help us to note who and what is influencing our lives, the things we spend time consuming, and how we are practicing self-control. Help us to let go of the things that are holding us back. Help us to start practicing, finding, listening to, filling ourselves with the things that bring a balance to our lives, guiding us in finding a balance that inspires us to respond effectively in the midst of the push and pull of life. Amen.